The first signs came without warning. Massive crystalline ships materialized above Earth's major cities, their translucent surfaces shifting with impossible geometries that defied human understanding. Captain Area Chen stood at the Global Defense Initiative Command Center, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic displays, tracking the alien vessel's initial approach. Months of deep space monitoring had prepared humanity for potential extraterrestrial contact, but nothing could have readied them for the sheer magnitude of the quantum collective invasion. The ships descended with mathematical precision, blocking out sunlight and casting immense shadows across continents. Millions watched in stunned silence as technology far beyond human comprehension began to envelope the planet. Area watched the tactical screens as conventional military defenses crumbled within minutes. Missiles, interceptors, and advanced weapon systems designed to protect Earth became nothing more than insignificant specks against the aliens' technological superiority. Jet fighters disintegrated mid-flight, their advanced systems completely overwhelmed by technologies that seemed to manipulate the very fabric of reality. The Global Defense Initiative had spent decades preparing for potential alien encounters, developing sophisticated response protocols and advanced technological countermeasures. Yet in this moment, all those preparations seemed laughably inadequate. The quantum collective demonstrated a level of technological advancement that made human achievements look like primitive cave drawings. Strategist Zulark observed the planetary conquest from the lead ship, a being of pure logical calculation, viewing humans as nothing more than another species to be cataloged, controlled, and ultimately integrated into their vast interstellar collective. The invasion was not about destruction, but systematic assimilation. Earth represented a new resource, a new set of biological and technological data points to be processed and understood. Communications networks worldwide collapsed within hours. The aliens demonstrated an ability to infiltrate and disable human technological infrastructure with terrifying efficiency. Cellular networks, internet systems, military communication channels all went dark. Governments worldwide found themselves unable to coordinate any meaningful resistance. The world had been conquered faster than anyone could have imagined. Captain Chen refused to accept defeat. Her team of scientists, researchers, and strategic analysts worked furiously in the underground command center located deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. They analyzed every scrap of data, every millisecond of interaction with the alien technology, searching for any potential weakness, any possibility of resistance. The quantum collective saw humans as a species defined by limitations, predictable, controllable, categorizable. What they failed to understand was the fundamental nature of human adaptation, the ability to transform challenge into opportunity, innovation, born from desperation, creativity emerging from constraint. Zulark reviewed the planetary conquest data streams, biological diversity, technological potential, resource allocation, planetary ecosystem. The humans represented an interesting dataset, a species on the cusp of significant technological development, yet they remained primitive by galactic standards. Their potential was limited, their resistance would be minimal. Little did Zulark know that beneath the surface of apparent submission, humanity was already beginning to fight back, not with traditional weapons or military might, but with something far more powerful: imagination, creativity, an ability to perceive solutions where logic saw only limitations. The invasion had begun. Earth's fate hung in the balance. Millions watched the crystalline ships hovering above major cities, their shadows a constant reminder of humanity's apparent helplessness. But within research centers, underground bunkers, and makeshift resistance groups, a different story was about to unfold, a story of unexpected resilience, a narrative of human potential that would challenge everything the quantum collective believed about conquered species. Captain Area Chen looked up from her tactical display. A slight smile crossed her face. The real battle was just beginning, and humanity was far from defeated. The first phase of the invasion was complete. The quantum collective believed they had won, but they had only awakened something far more dangerous, than any weapon, than any technology, than any logical calculation. They had awakened the human spirit. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a network of brilliant minds began their silent rebellion. Derlina Rodriguez adjusted her augmented reality glasses, scanning through terabytes of intercepted alien communication data. The underground command center hummed with suppressed energy. Dozens of experts from every imaginable discipline worked in synchronized concentration. The resistance had formed quickly, drawing together the most innovative thinkers from around the globe, scientists who had been studying theoretical quantum mechanics alongside hackers who could navigate the most complex digital landscapes, military strategists with unconventional thinking, computer engineers, network specialists, linguistic experts. Each brought a unique perspective to the challenge of understanding and ultimately defeating the quantum collective. Elena discovered something extraordinary in the communication patterns of the alien network. Their hive mind communication relied on incredibly rigid information processing algorithms, predictable, structured, inflexible. This would become humanity's greatest opportunity. The aliens believed their communication system was impenetrable, but they had never encountered human creativity. Across the global network, small teams began collecting data, analyzing alien technologies, developing intricate strategies that defied logical prediction. Marcus Williams, a former military intelligence officer, now worked alongside Delina Rodriguez, creating complex communication models. Marcus understood that human unpredictability could become their most powerful weapon. The resistance developed a multi-layered approach. First, they needed to understand the aliens' communication systems. Second, they would identify potential vulnerabilities. Third, they would create methods of disruption that required breaking down the quantum collective's technological infrastructure into its most basic components. Satellite networks were carefully monitored. Quantum encryption algorithms were developed. Advanced computational models were created to simulate potential alien response patterns. Every piece of information became a potential weapon, every interaction a chance to learn. Delina Rodriguez assembled a team of linguistic experts to analyze the alien communication patterns. They discovered something fascinating. The quantum collective processed information in linear, precise sequences. Humans communicated through complex networks of meaning, metaphors, emotional context, cultural nuance. These were concepts entirely foreign to the alien intelligence. Underground research centers began springing up around the world, connected through encrypted channels that even the most advanced alien technology could not fully comprehend. Researchers in Tokyo worked in synchronization with teams in Sao Paulo. Experts in Buenos Aires collaborated with scientists in Cape Town. A truly global effort emerged. The initial goal was simple: understand the enemy, develop strategies of resistance, create opportunities for counteraction. But as they delved deeper, the resistance discovered something more profound. The quantum collective was not just technologically advanced, they were fundamentally limited by their own logical constraints. Marcus Williams developed a series of communication protocols designed to introduce complexity into the alien information networks, simple yet sophisticated algorithms that would appear random to the alien intelligence, but each algorithm contained hidden layers of meaning, potential pathways of resistance. Quantum computing experts worked alongside traditional computer engineers, creating hybrid systems that could potentially interface with alien technologies. Theoretical models were tested and discarded. New approaches were constantly developed. The underground research teams worked with a sense of urgency, understanding that every moment counted. Delina Rodriguez reviewed the latest data streams. Her team had begun to map the potential weaknesses in the quantum collective communication network, not through brute force, but through understanding, adaptation, creativity, the very qualities that made humans unique. The resistance was building something more than just a technological defense. They were creating a comprehensive strategy of human potential, a method of thinking that could not be predicted or controlled by any external force. The quantum collective had made a critical error. They had underestimated the human capacity for innovation. As night fell across the hidden research centers around the world, A quiet determination settled over the team's working, thinking preparing the real battle was just beginning, and humanity was far from defeated. The underground resilience had taken root, a seed of hope in the darkness of planetary occupation. Information became the most powerful weapon in humanity's arsenal. The Resistance discovered that communication was far more than simple data exchange. It was a complex landscape of meaning, intention, and subtle manipulation. Elena Rodriguez and her team began to craft their first strategic response to the quantum collective. Social media networks, thought to be disable, transformed into intricate communication channels. Seemingly random posts contained carefully encoded messages. Academic research platforms became conduits of hidden intelligence. Underground communication networks spread like neural pathways across the global resistance. Each message, each shared piece of information, was a carefully designed instrument of psychological warfare. The team developed a breakthrough strategy of information complexity. Imagine a language that could confuse the most advanced alien intelligence. A communication system that defied linear processing. Metaphors became weapons. Cultural references transformed into coded intelligence. Emotional nuance turned into a strategic advantage. Marcus Williams led the development of communication protocols designed to introduce maximum uncertainty into alien information processing systems that appeared completely random to the quantum collective, but contained deeply layered meanings. Linguistic experts worked alongside computer engineers, creating communication models that would challenge the very foundation of alien understanding. Strategist Zulark monitored the human communication networks, growing increasingly frustrated. The data streams made no logical sense. Patterns emerged and dissolved. Meanings shifted. Contextual references multiplied. Humans communicated in ways that defied the rigid information processing of the quantum collective. Guillermo Rodriguez understood that human communication was never about pure information transfer. It was about connection, emotion, context, shared experience. The aliens processed information like a computer. Humans processed information like a living, breathing ecosystem of meaning. The Resistance began to weaponize human creativity. Memes became intelligence vectors. Social media posts transformed into complex coded messages. Academic papers contained hidden communication layers. Art became a method of resistance. Cultural expression turned into a sophisticated communication strategy. Linguistic experts discovered something extraordinary. Humans could communicate multiple layers of meaning simultaneously. The quantum collective could only process information in linear sequences. Humans could transmit emotional, intellectual, and strategic information all at once, a communication method that was fundamentally incomprehensible to the alien intelligence. Global teams worked in synchronization. Researchers in different countries developed complementary communication strategies, each team adding another layer of complexity to the Resistance communication network. What appeared to be chaos was actually a highly organized method of information warfare. Marcus Williams developed advanced algorithms that could generate communication patterns designed to introduce maximum uncertainty. Each message, each post, each seemingly random piece of information contained multiple potential interpretations. The quantum collective found themselves drowning in a sea of contextual complexity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez reviewed the latest communication models. A smile crossed her face. They were creating something unprecedented, a communication strategy that was fundamentally unbreakable because it was based on the most complex system in the known universe: human creativity. The Resistance understood that their greatest weapon was not technology, but the ability to think beyond linear logic, to create, to imagine, to find solutions in places where logic saw only limitations. The quantum collective had conquered planets before, but they had never encountered a species like humans. Strategist Zulark reviewed the human communication data streams, growing more frustrated with each passing moment. The information made no logical sense. Patterns emerged and dissolved. Meanings shifted. Contextual references multiplied. This was not how conquered species were supposed to behave. As days turned into weeks, the Resistance communication network grew stronger, more sophisticated, more complex. The quantum collective found themselves facing an enemy they could not understand, could not predict, could not control, an enemy that communicated in ways that defied all known principles of information processing. The first breakthrough had been achieved. Humanity had found its weapon, not a physical technology, not a military strategy, but something far more powerful, the ability to communicate in ways that challenged the very foundation of alien understanding. The real battle was just beginning. The underground research facility buzzed with an electric intensity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display, tracking the quantum encryption algorithm her team had been developing for weeks. The breakthrough would change everything, the key to penetrating the quantum collective's seemingly impenetrable communication systems was within their grasp. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, a quantum computing expert from Tokyo, worked alongside a team of international researchers. Their collective knowledge represented the pinnacle of human technological innovation. Captured alien technology lay dissected across multiple workstations. Each component examined, analyzed, reverse-engineered piece by piece. They were learning the secrets of the invaders. The quantum encryption algorithm was more than just a technological achievement. It was a work of art, a complex symphony of mathematical precision and creative thinking. Unlike traditional encryption methods, this algorithm could adapt, learn, evolve. The team had created something that mimicked the very essence of human intelligence. Marcus Williams monitored the initial test runs. Data streams flickered across multiple screens. Complex mathematical patterns emerged and dissolved. Potential communication pathways mapped in real time. The algorithm was designed to do more than just decrypt alien communications. It was meant to infiltrate, disrupt, and ultimately manipulate the quantum collective's technological infrastructure. Researchers from around the world contributed to the project. Theoretical physicists worked alongside computer engineers. Linguists collaborated with mathematical prodigies. Each brought a unique perspective, a different approach to solving the seemingly impossible challenge of understanding and countering alien technology. The first successful test came unexpectedly. A minor communication channel opened a brief window of opportunity. Alien technological systems experienced momentary disruptions. Sophisticated ships began to show inexplicable system failures. The quantum collective found themselves facing something they had never encountered before, an enemy that could not only understand their technology, but could potentially control it. Dr. Rodriguez understood that this was more than just a technological achievement. This was a fundamental reimagining of what was possible. Humans were not just adapting alien technology. They were transforming it, creating something entirely new, something the aliens could never have anticipated. Massive ships began to experience systematic disruptions. Communication networks became garbled. Precise technological systems started to unravel. The quantum collective's technological superiority was being challenged from within. Small vulnerabilities emerged, exploited, expanded, transformed. The team developed a multi-layered approach. First, understand the alien technologies. Second, identify its fundamental weaknesses. Third, create methods of systematic disruption. This required breaking down the most advanced technological system in the known universe into its most basic components. Marcus Williams tracked the progressive infiltration of alien systems. Each successful breach represented a small victory, a step towards ultimate resistance. The researchers worked with a sense of urgency, understanding that every moment counted. Every small advancement could mean the difference between planetary subjugation and potential liberation. Quantum computing experts worked alongside traditional computer engineers, creating hybrid systems that could interface with alien technologies. Theoretical models were tested and discarded. New approaches constantly developed. The research teams worked with an intensity born of desperation and hope. Dr. Elena Rodriguez reviewed the latest data streams. Her team had begun to map the potential weaknesses in the quantum collective technological network, not through brute force, but through understanding, adaptation, creativity, the very qualities that made humans unique. As night fell across the hidden research centers around the world, a quiet determination settled over the teams working, thinking, preparing. The real technological battle was just beginning. Humanity had discovered something profound. They were not just fighting, they were evolving. The first true technological breakthrough had been achieved. The quantum collective had made a critical error. They had underestimated the human capacity for innovation, for adaptation, for transformation. The next phase of resistance was about to begin. and nothing would ever be the same. The moment of global transformation began with a whisper, a subtle shift in the planetary resistance, a synchronized movement that would change everything. Captain Area Chen stood in the underground command center, watching as the first phase of their coordinated assault took shape. Months of preparation had led to this single moment of perfect human synchronization. Around the world, resistance cells activated simultaneously, precisely. Each team had a specific role, a unique part of a global strategy that defied traditional military thinking. Hackers, military personnel, scientists, and ordinary citizens worked in unprecedented harmony. Their goal was nothing short of planetary liberation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the global network. Her quantum encryption algorithms worked perfectly. Captured alien technologies were being rapidly adapted, modified, turned against their creators. The hybrid systems developed by the resistance teams began to show their true potential, transforming alien weapons into instruments of human resistance. Marcus Williams coordinated the global tactical response teams in different continents, moved with mathematical precision, exploiting the vulnerabilities they had discovered in the quantum collective's technological infrastructure. What appeared to be random actions were actually carefully orchestrated strategic moves, each action carefully calculated, each movement precisely timed. The first wave of resistance struck multiple systems simultaneously. Communication networks began to destabilize. Alien ships experienced cascading system failures. Technological infrastructures that seemed impenetrable just weeks ago now showed critical vulnerabilities. The quantum collective found themselves facing an enemy they could not predict, could not understand, could not control. Researchers in Tokyo manipulated communication frequencies. Teams in Sao Paulo introduced complex algorithmic disruptions. Experts in Buenos Aires developed adaptive technological countermeasures. Scientists in Cape Town created revolutionary interface technologies. A truly global effort emerged, breaking down the alien technological superiority system by system. Captain Area Chen watched as captured alien technologies began to transform massive ships that once represented total planetary subjugation, now became instruments of human resistance. Technological systems designed for conquest now served as tools of liberation. The very weapons meant to control humanity became the means of its ultimate freedom. The resistance discovered something terrifying to the quantum collective. Humans could understand and repurpose advanced technologies faster than the aliens could defend against them. Each captured system, each piece of technology, became a learning opportunity, a chance to evolve, a method of transformation. Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the real-time data streams. The global resistance was working as a single organism, each team, each individual contributing to a larger strategy of planetary liberation. The quantum collective had believed humans were predictable, controllable, categorizable. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Marcus Williams tracked the progressive dismantling of alien technological systems. Communication networks collapsed, technological infrastructures crumbled, strategic control centers became ineffective. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that operated on principles they could not comprehend, could not predict, could not control. Around the world, ordinary people became extraordinary individuals who had been subjugated, now became active participants in planetary liberation. School teachers became communication specialists. Farmers became technological experts. Artists became strategic coordinators. Humanity transformed from a conquered species into a unified force of resistance. The quantum collective experienced something entirely new: uncertainty, chaos, unpredictability. Their rigid logical systems could not process the fluid, adaptive nature of human resistance. Every time they developed a countermeasure, humans found a new method of attack, a new way of thinking, a new approach to resistance. Captain Area Chen smiled. The first phase of the global resistance had succeeded beyond their most optimistic predictions. The planetary transformation was underway. Humanity had discovered something profound about themselves, about their potential, about their capacity for adaptation and survival. As the first alien ships began to show critical system failures, a new understanding emerged. This was more than just a battle. This was a fundamental reimagining of what was possible when a species refused to be conquered, when creativity became the most powerful weapon, when human potential knew no limits. The great transformation had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The most powerful weapon emerged not from technology, but from the human mind. Dr. Elena Rodriguez understood something profound about the resistance. Their greatest strength lay in the ability to challenge the very foundations of alien understanding. Psychological warfare would become their most potent strategy. Linguists, anthropologists, psychologists, and communication experts gathered in the Underground Research Center. They began to develop a comprehensive approach to breaking down the quantum collective's mental infrastructure. Understanding was their first objective. Deconstruction, their ultimate goal. The aliens operated on pure logical principles. Humans existed in a world of emotion, imagination, and infinite possibility. Marcus Williams led the team developing communication strategies designed to introduce maximum psychological complexity. Imagine a form of communication that could simultaneously exist in multiple states of meaning, a message that could be interpreted differently based on cultural, emotional, and contextual frameworks. The quantum collective had no framework for understanding such complexity. The resistance began to broadcast narratives that systematically challenged the aliens' fundamental understanding of existence. Art became a weapon, cultural expression transformed into a method of psychological disruption. Music, literature, visual arts all became instruments of resistance. Each creative work contained layers of meaning that defied logical interpretation. Strategists Zulark found themselves drowning in an ocean of incomprehensible human expression. Every attempt to analyze human communication led to more confusion, more uncertainty, more complexity. The rigid logical systems of the quantum collective began to experience fundamental breakdown. Researchers discovered the aliens' most critical weakness, their inability to comprehend individual human motivation. Where the quantum collective operated as a uniform collective with predictable decision-making patterns, humans thrived on individual creativity, unpredictability, emotional complexity. The very qualities that seemed like weaknesses became the most powerful weapons. Global teams developed communication protocols that introduced maximum psychological uncertainty. Social media platforms transformed into sophisticated psychological warfare instruments. Each post, each image, each piece of content designed to challenge the aliens' understanding of reality. Memes became intelligence vectors. Cultural references turned into coded messages of resistance. Dr. Rodriguez understood that they were fighting more than a technological battle. This was a war of understanding, a conflict that would determine the very nature of consciousness, existence, potential. The quantum collective believed they could categorize, understand, and control humans would prove them fundamentally wrong. Marcus Williams tracked the progressive psychological breakdown of the alien collective. Communication systems became increasingly unstable. Logical frameworks began to crumble. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that operated on principles they could not comprehend, could not predict, could not control. Art became a weapon of unprecedented power. Musicians created compositions that challenged mathematical understanding. Visual artists developed works that defied logical interpretation. Writers produced narratives that existed in multiple states of meaning simultaneously. Each creative act a strike against the alien understanding. The resistance discovered something profound about themselves, about human potential, about the power of imagination. Creativity became their most powerful weapon, a form of resistance that could not be measured, controlled, predicted. The quantum collective had conquered numerous species before, but they had never encountered anything like humans. Strategist Zulark reviewed the psychological data streams, growing more frustrated with each passing moment. Human expression defied all known principles of communication. Meaning shifted, contexts multiplied, emotional complexity increased exponentially. This was not how conquered species were supposed to behave. Around the world, ordinary people became extraordinary participants in a global psychological resistance. School teachers introduced complex narrative strategies. Artists developed communication methods that challenged logical understanding. Musicians created compositions that existed in multiple states of meaning. Humanity transformed from a conquered species into a force of infinite possibility. Dr. Elena Rodriguez smiled. The psychological warfare had succeeded beyond their most optimistic predictions. The alien collective found themselves facing an enemy they could not understand, could not predict, could not control, an enemy that existed in a state of constant creative potential. As the alien communication systems began to destabilize, a new understanding emerged. This was more than just a battle. This was a fundamental reimagining of consciousness, of potential, of what it meant to truly understand another being, another culture, another way of existing. The psychological transformation had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The moment of ultimate reckoning arrived with a silence more powerful than any weapon. Captain Area Chen stood at the Global Resistance Command Center. The culmination of months of preparation came down to this single moment of planetary liberation, of human potential unleash. Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her team had developed the ultimate technological-psychological weapon, a global network that could predict and counter alien strategies milliseconds before implementation. Quantum computing merged with human creativity, technological innovation intertwined with psychological complexity. The most advanced system in the known universe was about to face its ultimate test. Strategist Zulark watched in growing horror as human resistance reached a level of sophistication they could never have anticipated. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that existed in a state of constant adaptation, constant evolution, constant reimagination. Their rigid technological and logical frameworks began to crumble. Massive alien ships experienced cascading system failures, communication networks collapsed, strategic control centers became ineffective. The resistance had transformed captured alien technologies into instruments of planetary liberation. Each system, each technology became a weapon turned against its original creators. Marcus Williams coordinated the global tactical response teams across continents, moved with unprecedented synchronization. What appeared to be random actions were actually carefully orchestrated strategic maneuvers. The hybrid systems developed by resistance researchers began to show their true potential, transforming alien weapons into instruments of human survival. The quantum encryption algorithms developed by Dr. Rodriguez proved to be the ultimate breakthrough. They could not just penetrate alien communication systems, they could predict, manipulate, and ultimately control them. The quantum collective found themselves facing an enemy that could think faster, adapt more quickly, imagine beyond logical limitations. Around the world, resistance cells activated simultaneously, precisely. Each team had a specific role, a unique part of a global strategy that defied traditional understanding of warfare. Hackers, military personnel, scientists, artists, and ordinary citizens worked in perfect harmony. Their goal was nothing short of complete planetary liberation. Technological systems designed for conquest now served as tools of freedom. Massive ships that once represented total planetary subjugation became instruments of human resistance. The very weapons meant to control humanity now became the means of its ultimate freedom. The quantum collective had made a critical error. They had underestimated the human capacity for transformation. Captain Area Chen watched as the final phase of resistance unfolded. Global communication networks lit up with coordinated actions. Captured alien technologies were repurposed. Psychological warfare strategies reached their ultimate expression. Humanity moved as a single organism, a unified force of unprecedented potential. Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the real-time data streams. The global resistance worked with a precision that defied previous understanding of military strategy, of technological innovation, of human potential. Each individual, each team, contributing to a larger strategy of planetary liberation. The quantum collective had believed humans were predictable, controllable, categorizable. They were about to learn how fundamentally wrong they were. The resistance discovered something terrifying to the alien collective. Humans could understand and repurpose advanced technologies faster than they could defend against them. Each captured system, each piece of technology, became a learning opportunity, a chance to evolve a method of transformation beyond anything the quantum collective could comprehend. Strategist Zulark experienced something entirely new: uncertainty, chaos, unpredictability. Their rigid logical systems could not process the fluid adaptive nature of human resistance. Every time they developed a countermeasure, humans found a new method of attack, a new way of thinking, a new approach to survival. As the first alien ships began to disintegrate, a new understanding emerged. This was more than just a battle. This was a fundamental reimagining of potential. When a species refused to be conquered, when creativity became the most powerful weapon, when human potential knew no limits. The final confrontation had reached its climax. Humanity stood on the precipice of something extraordinary, a complete transformation of understanding of potential, of what it meant to exist in the universe. The quantum collective had come to conquer, but they would leave having learned the most important lesson of all. Never underestimate the power of human creativity, adaptation, resilience. The final battle was won, and nothing would ever be the same. The aftermath of the planetary liberation transformed everything. Humanity stood at the threshold of a new understanding of existence, of potential, of their place in the vast cosmic landscape. Captain Arya Chen looked out over the recovering Earth, a world forever changed by the most extraordinary resistance in galactic history. Strategist Zulark remained as a diplomatic envoy, a living testament to the fundamental transformation that had occurred during the invasion. The aliens had arrived believing humans were a species to be categorized, controlled, assimilated. Now, they understood something far more profound about the nature of intelligence, about the power of adaptation, about the infinite potential of conscious beings. Dr. Elena Rodriguez led the global research initiative, dedicated to understanding the technological, psychological, and cultural breakthroughs of the resistance. Her team worked to document every aspect of humanity's extraordinary journey, from the first moments of invasion to the final liberation. Each discovery a testament to human potential, each breakthrough a new understanding of what was possible. Marcus Williams now coordinated the Global Defense and Exploration Initiative. The technologies developed during the resistance would become the foundation of humanity's next great leap. Captured alien systems were carefully studied, adapted, transformed into tools of exploration, understanding, innovation. The very technologies meant to subjugate humanity now became the instruments of its greatest adventure. The quantum collective had become something entirely different, a diplomatic entity seeking to understand the encounter with humans had fundamentally transformed their entire species. Their rigid logical frameworks had been challenged, broken, reimagined. They sought to learn from the very species they had once attempted to conquer. Around the world, ordinary people became extraordinary witnesses to a planetary transformation that defied all previous understanding of resistance, of potential, of what it meant to be a sentient species. Schools began teaching the lessons of the resistance, not as a military history, but as a fundamental understanding of human potential, creativity, adaptation, resilience. Dr. Rodriguez understood that the true victory was not in defeating the aliens, but in what humanity had discovered about themselves, about their capacity for innovation, about their ability to face seemingly insurmountable challenges and emerge transformed, not just as survivors, but as something entirely new. The global communication networks developed during the resistance became the foundation of a new form of human interaction, collaborative, adaptive, innovative technologies that allowed for unprecedented levels of understanding, communication, cooperation. The boundaries between individual and collective began to blur in the most extraordinary ways. Captain Arya Chen reviewed the initial reports of galactic diplomatic communications. Humanity was no longer seen as a species to be conquered, but as a force to be understood, respected. Humanity had proven itself not just a survivor, but a transformative intelligence that could adapt, innovate, reimagine existence itself. Strategist Zulark worked alongside human diplomatic teams, attempting to understand the fundamental nature of human potential. What had seemed like weakness during the invasion, unpredictability, emotional complexity, individual creativity, now revealed itself as the most powerful form of intelligence known in the known universe. The technologies developed during the Resistance became the foundation of humanity's next great leap. Quantum computing merged with human creativity, technological innovation intertwined with psychological complexity. Space exploration became not just a possibility, but an inevitability. The very technologies meant to subjugate humanity now became the instruments of its greatest adventure. Dr. Elena Rodriguez smiled, reflecting on the journey. The impossible had been achieved. A planetary invasion had been turned into a moment of ultimate transformation, not just of survival, but of fundamental reimagining of what it meant to be a sentient species, of the infinite potential of conscious beings. Marcus Williams coordinated the first interstellar exploration missions. The hybrid technologies developed during the Resistance would become humanity's gateway to the stars, technologies that defied previous understanding of communication, of technological potential, of the very nature of existence. Around the world, a new understanding emerged. This was more than just a victory. This was a fundamental transformation of understanding of potential, of what it meant to exist in the universe. The quantum collective had come to conquer, but they had discovered something far more important: the true nature of intelligence. The final chapter of the invasion had been written, but the true story was just beginning. Humanity stood at the threshold of something extraordinary, a new cosmic era, where potential knew no limits, where creativity was the most powerful force in the universe, where the impossible became not just possible but inevitable. Nothing would ever be the same.